Hi everyone, it has been a week. And by a week, I mean a month. And by a month, I mean...
Mortuaries are also feeling the enormous stress as more and more people die from the virus.
We are working in a complete battlefield.
Waiting weeks to bury their loved ones.
California is now the new New York.
You may know me as YouTube's premier peddler of death education, but I also own a small funeral home in Los Angeles, California. For the last year, I've been getting questions like, is COVID overwhelming your funeral home, Caitlin? Bodies piling up, refrigerated trucks, 24-hour cremations? No, was the answer.
It's hard to stay hopeful when the deaths just keep climbing.
Was the answer? It took 10 months for LA to reach 400,000 COVID cases. So yes, we had COVID deaths at my funeral home, but we weren't overwhelmed. But then came winter. Families traveling for Thanksgiving, disjointed government policy, weariness, and a desire for this just to be over. And boom, in December alone, 400,000 cases in LA. Humanitarian disaster. I cannot emphasize that strongly enough. It's like nothing I have ever seen. You may be thinking, LA is America's second biggest city. If it's really all that bad, we should be hearing all the celebs dying from COVID, right? That is a fundamental misunderstanding about Los Angeles. If your vision of LA is TikTok houses and paparazzi, that is not the LA I live in or the LA my funeral home serves. There are vast stretches of Los Angeles that are primarily home to Latino and Black people. Those communities are filled with frontline workers who live in densely situated multi-generational homes, many of which are low income. They can't not work or work from home, and they can't just live somewhere else. These are the people who are filling our funeral homes. To put a human face on this, there was a bus driver living in South LA who migrated from El Salvador. He lived with his mother and children. The family doesn't know how COVID infected their home, but the whole family has it. COVID has put him on the brink of death and he doesn't have health care. Calling an ambulance would just mean driving around in circles. They have nowhere to go, no hospital to take him to. You hear the sirens all night long. So he dies at home. A police officer has to come sit with the body until a funeral home picks him up, but no funeral home has room. This is not a home funeral, by the way, the magic of a body in a living room, the family making an informed choice to care for their own dead. There's no magic when you have no idea if you are going to be able to get anyone, no matter how much you pay them, to pick up this body. So, how did this happen? We know how this happened. But the question that I think about all day, every day, is where is the government? This has been going on for almost a year. This didn't catch you by surprise. What are you guys doing, huh? The fact that the government feels no need to step in at all is so frustrating, especially since they killed a lot of these people. With their arbitrary policies, their lack of health care, their lack of financial help for the unemployed, and then you do absolutely nothing to help them or their families once they die. You don't provide any money to get them cremated or buried. You don't even provide refrigerated storage for their bodies so their families at least know they're somewhere safe. Things like refrigerated trucks, communal burials, mobile crematoriums, those aren't the enemy. Those are the solutions. My issue is we don't have any of those. They sent the National Guard in to help at the coroner's office, which is good. The coroner is also wildly, hopelessly overwhelmed with bodies. But that's a little help for one link in a very long chain. So who's left responsible for all of these bodies? Funeral homes. It's a mass casualty disaster, and the government is like, small-time capitalism will handle this best. No, it won't. No one thinks that. Funeral directors don't even think that. This is a ragtag crew of funeral homes, of extremely small private businesses with no centralized coordinating ability. The government has the idea, I think, that the private market will step in here, and the funeral homes that can figure it out by paying the money to bring in their own large cold storage trucks will rise to the top and get the business. One, we don't have time to wait for that, and two, that doesn't help the families at all. When you are frantically calling anyone to help you with your dead, large corporate funeral homes may be the only ones who have the capacity to pick up your family member. And then the second that they pick them up, you are on the hook for a bare minimum $4,000 cremation. If you need a burial for religious or personal reasons, that's a year's salary. I hate the idea of private businesses and donors stepping in where the government should be, especially in a mass disaster situation. But frankly, Amazon would be handling this better. At least they have trucks and workers. Mackenzie Bezos, hey, what's up? Bill Gates, help, help. Elon Musk, you wanted to build a submarine for those Thai cave divers. What you up to? I am not an expert on natural disasters and mass death, that should go without saying, but here's what I think should be happening. There should be one phone number. If a death has occurred from COVID or suspected COVID, the family can call the number and it goes to a central command, an abandoned WeWork or something with tumbleweeds rolling through the background. To start, it's staffed by about 30 people. FEMA, or Federal Emergency Management, California National Guard, and death care experts, drivers, phone operators. The phone operator takes all the information from the family. A driver picks up the body and brings it to a well-managed location that is clean, bright, cold, well-labeled, so the family knows their dead are safe. The death certificate is fast-tracked through the county, and the family is told, "We are so sorry this is happening. We will handle the practical and financial logistics of this cremation or burial." This should have been the plan since the beginning of the pandemic. If the right person was given the power and, I don't know, $1 million, $500,000, this could be up and running in several days. This sounds like I don't like the government. No, I love big government that supports and cares for all its citizens, especially its more vulnerable. I don't know how much more vulnerable you get than overflowing freezer trucks full of low-income corpses from LA's least supported neighborhoods. And I get it. The pandemic has stolen a year of our lives. You're sick and tired of it. Me too. Not being able to engage in simple social pleasures can feel intolerable and unfair, but some of us seem to have lost the plot. Maybe you've been getting mixed messages on that, so let me make them not so mixed. You have to wear a mask. This is non-negotiable in LA. You can't go visit your family, and you cannot hang out with your friends. This is not about politics or personal liberty. This is about mass death. Maybe you are someone who has been getting the message that this is overblown or not real. But the corpses don't lie. The sheer, staggering amount of corpses don't lie. We're not running cremations all day and night for our health. In fact, it's bad for our health. If you are just now convinced by the reality of this situation, how bad it really is, I want you to know there is dignity, grace, and humanity in changing your mind. I don't have an easy wrap-up for this because we are still in the middle of it. And I know that you are loving and you are kind and you want to offer support to me and my funeral home, but please don't call us or just show up. That ties up the phone lines and takes away our attention and energy from where it needs to be. Everyone on my team, funeral directors, people at the coroners, doctors, nurses, the health department, everyone is working so hard. But none of us are disaster relief experts. Where are those people? It's like that scene in a disaster movie when the plane flies over and it doesn't see you, and for the first time you go, oh shit. No one is coming. If you really want to help and you live in LA, call your council member, your mayor, your representative, and express your displeasure with how this is being handled. I know contacting your representatives doesn't always feel satisfying or impactful, but the only way the families are going to get the aid they so desperately need is if the government steps up. Like now, help now, not 10 months from now. Stay safe. I cannot wait to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you for listening.
State health officials have lifted the stay-at-home orders for all regions.
All regions effective immediately are no longer in the stay-at-home order.